All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are here now with the semifinals for North America. I'm Gormizer. Joining me today again is Aggro. Yesterday we got to do the finals today. Are you excited for these semis?
I am, man. I'm really excited. We get to watch Jeff and his amazing friends, aka the return of Cognitive Prime, your Season 1 world champions. Excited to see those guys back together and up against a top Challenger Cup team. This should be, I think this set could be interesting. I mean, this is they're Challenger Cup players, sure, but there's a team that's been together a long time. We saw just how important teamwork can be yesterday. We'll see if it's going to be the same way today.
And that's another thing to point out is that even though, you throw it out, and when people hear Challenger Cup player, they kind of have, it seems to have this negative connotation to it. People hear it and they're like, oh, well, they're just Challenger Cup. But this team sat at the top. The only other team that was able to best them was Most Wanted. And both of those teams, when they will show up, I personally believe that Astral Athority is going to have a chance coming into the next season to be able to pull themselves into the Pro League. But as it stands right now, they have a good point to prove themselves up against JeffHindla.
Yeah, it's gonna be this is a great test for them. If they want to see a measuring stick exactly how close they are to being able to make it into the Pro League, this is a good one because you're playing against obviously the same sort of quality players that you'd be playing up against in the SPL, but they don't have that cohesion. So you definitely have an advantage in that sense. You'll be able to try and take some advantages, whereas against a normal SPL team, you're probably the underdog significantly.
With that, the bans have been coming through. Terra taken off the board, which isn't really surprising to a lot of people. She's very potent. Thoth taken off the board. Alkwong, Yanis. A lot of these, like Yanis, and it's more of a shot right at MLC Stealth, and I feel like the Alkwong would be a shot at andinster, except those were banned out by JeffHindla, so they just didn't want to give those away.
No, just a strong pick that has that snowball potential, or just that potential to just wait until the late game, and then one team fight goes wrong, Alkwong gets an execute on a priority target, then he crashes down, executes another target basically without having the ultimate, and it can just snowball really, really quickly in the late game. So no surprise to see that team to ban it out.
So today, Sylvanus, and he's shown up a little bit yesterday, but today Sylvanus has been constantly picked up, and I know like you've been playing ranked a lot recently, and you've been kind of sitting up at the top. Has something kind of resurged about Sylvanus, or are people just remembering that he has a lot of healing to him?
Well, it is teams just remembering that he can be very strong in the right situation, but you got to give shout outs to Aurora. I mean, we're on an Eager, this is being thrown by Eager.
Yeah,
you can
absolutely.
thank Eager for the resurgence of Sylvanus with this mid-pressure sort of strategy that you're going to be able to do with this Sylvanus. It makes it easy to pick it up early. However, you have to be worried about picks like Sobek. I love this pick for Jeff in this matchup because Sylvanus doesn't have any mobility. We talk about it all the time when it comes to him, as well as Sickening Strike, giving you 50% healing reduction on any targets hit. Really, really good counter pick there.
I especially feel like Sobek fits in perfectly with JeffHindla's style. I think the only other Guardian that really personifies him best would be Khepri, because he is absolutely, I'm going to sacrifice myself to make sure all of my teammates stay alive to kind of push this forward. Earlier today when they played, we saw him in round 2. The first 2 deaths were him doing his best to keep his teammates alive, and he successfully did so. So having someone like Sobek that allows him to set it up, but also give a little bit of a slow to kind of protect his teammates is going to be very beneficial for them.
Yeah, but Bacchus has a beard, so like
Bacchus fits him in looks wise. Yeah, that's definitely. And JeffHindla's beard is just magnificent.
I've touched it, and I haven't washed my hands since. They're very gross, but it's worth it.
It definitely sounds like it. Nike and Jing going to be pulled in, and I'm actually kind of surprised that Nike got to 4th out of all of the picks. Like coming in, Sylvanus, he's been very strong. Thor is just andinster. And the only person I think who personified that more was back when we saw Gars in Cognitive Red. He was the only person I think who kind of rivaled andinster's Thor, and as it is now with Gars no longer here, maybe adapting, I would say, but andinster runs NA with this.
Yeah, definitely a priority pick for him, a signature pick, if you will. But you mentioned that you're kind of surprised to not see Nike picked up by Jeff and his amazing friends. But remember, it's Omega in the solo lane, and Omega has not been around in recent memory. He's ever since the spring split, I believe, whenever he was kicked off Envy, he wasn't around. And so Nike, being a newer release, probably wants to go something that he knows he can play, that the meta is not going to change. Osiris is going to be Osiris no matter what's going on in the meta, and that's why we see him pick up a classic lane bully solo laner like we're used to seeing on him.
That's actually a really good point kind of hidden there, is the fact that every person on JeffHindla and his amazing friends is still playing in the Pro League. I mean, BaRraCCuDDa and JeffHindla stick together like glue. We see andinster on Soar and MLC now being mid for ALG. So they're all going to Worlds. They're all playing. Omega is really the only kind of odd one out, but like you had said, he still has the skill to kind of back it up. And we'll get to see that even more coming through here. He'll be playing Osiris as a warrior. And we're actually seeing, so Ra taken off the board. MLC has a very potent mid lane. He has like just tons of mages under his belt, and I feel like that Scylla was actually directly targeted at him.
Yeah, I would imagine so, just because, I mean, he's got a skin with his name on it, and it's Scylla. Like, what else do you need to know about how good MLC Stealth is on this Scylla? No surprise to see Jeff and his amazing friends being the team to ban away Ra. That we talk about MLC Stealth's God pool, and it is limited, admittedly so on his part, I would say. But I know he can play the Ra. We just haven't seen him pull it out yet. Maybe he isn't a huge fan. He's very particular with the gods he likes to play. Kind of surprised we didn't see a Zeus ban though, coming from Jeff and his amazing friends, talking about what Eager likes to do. That was the composition. It was Sylvanus and Zeus duo laning the mid lane, basically. So kind of surprised that option is still available. Interested to see if Sheyka is gonna look for that.
And, you know, I keep taking shots like saying, you know, this is, you know, targeted at MLC, or this is a target for andinster. But looking down the board, I mean, Ao Kuang and Nemesis, fineokay, when he played not only through the Challengers Cup, but partially like in the finals, he excels at Ao Kuang. Like, I think there was a game I remember seeing either in the semifinals or maybe in the round robin stage, but he was like 14-2-7 on this Ao Kuang. He had been dominating, just kind of running through everyone he could find. And the same thing kind of goes with Nemesis, and that would help him up against that Osiris and that Sobek. So taking that off, I feel, was also kind of a targeted ban, not at just strong junglers, but kind of to take him down a peg.
Well, I wonder what he's going to play, because he has the option right now of playing Nike or Erlang Shen. It's going to be a warrior in the jungle for him. We'll have to wait and see. I would assume that it would be Erlang, just because we've seen more Erlang jungle as of late, and I think that Nike's stronger in the solo lane, but we'll have to wait and see, especially with Osiris not having an easy way to interrupt that first ability for Nike. That's the big counter for Nike in the solo lane, right? Is that if you can't get your one off, it's a channeled ability, very slow, very easy to interrupt. Your wave clear is pretty poor, but Osiris, I mean, it's going to go off before that tether stun happens, so Nike probably in the solo lane here.
And the last point I can really think to bring up, just looking at the picks and bans, is the fact that, like, so earlier today we actually saw Chang'e, and she's one of those characters who, like, she's a goddess who can come in and out of the meta, like, depending on what's going on. She provides healing, she has anti-heal, so she has a position, but she's not really favored. Earlier we saw her go into the ADC role, which didn't pan out for the team that pulled it out. They ended up losing to Team Ego. But looking at the picks, yeah, it was BaRraCCuDDa.
I didn't watch that game, but I know it's BaRraCCuDDa.
it was BaRraCCuDDa pulling that one out. But, you know, looking at the roster, this looks like it's going to be going more than likely to Sheyka in the mid lane. How do you feel about Chang'e mid?
Anyone who listens to me on a regular basis knows that I am not a proponent of Chang'e mid in any stretch. I think it is low pressure. You forfeit the early game entirely in most scenarios. And I much prefer, I think Chang'e is a really good solo laner if you can find the right composition for it, if you build a bruiser, but I'm not a fan of the mid lane. However, if we see the Eager strategy of duo laning the mid lane, it could work out a little better. Give her that, try and boost her through that really weak early game. That way you're not giving up all the mid camps, you're not giving up the gremlins. It could work if Sylvanus is spending a lot of time in the mid lane, but I don't know. Still not a fan. I prefer the traditional mages.
And we'll have to see how that works out for Astral Athority as we push ourselves into game. And already Mangoh is on this Nike, so it is going to be going to the soul lane, but he's getting plucked off. That is almost a lot of damage, but a nice leap going to be forced out of him. So not really a good damaging ability to get first, but at least he saved his life.
Very, very close. Yeah, a slight win there. JeffHindla did get plucked, so you're trading out a little bit of clear on your side in exchange for the clear on the right-hand side. But Nike going back to base, no real harm right now. But it looks like Astral Authority doesn't want to stop fighting.
And JeffHindla are not going to be backing off. His amazing friends want to back him up, but the pluck not going to connect on fineokay. But they're still kind of aggressing into this positioning. Omega going to get caught out. He's going to get a little bit of poke put onto him. But ultimately, everyone's kind of picking and choosing where they're throwing their poke. No real commitment yet.
Remember, Mangoh does have that knockup available. fineokay gets plucked back. He's going to get exploded. There he goes. 3-man knockup, though, out of Mangoh. Shell gets popped. Sheyka able to pick that one up. Omega so low. FaymousHate looking for him. He finds him. 2 kills already for Astral Authority.
Mangoh really low, and the Ricochet going to be able to pick him up as BaRraCCuDDa finds that one while he's running away. And it hasn't even been 10 seconds on the in-game timer going into the game before we see 4 kills across the board.
Oh.
Rachetier's low, FaymousHate are both really low, and they're still looking like they're trying to get aggressive. They need to back away. They're too low for this.
So finally, some minions are going to die here. The 27-second mark. The mid-camps go the way of Astral Authority. Very, very strange start to the game. Taking a look at the graphs, it's a little bit in Astral Authority's favor. It's actually dead even right now in experience. Slight, like 180 gold in favor of Jeff and his amazing friends. But they have to be careful. fineokay could loop around the back here. He has the pin.
And he's going to be finding it onto BaRraCCuDDa. He's going to take a little bit of damage. Sheyka trying to find anything he can. FaymousHate running in as well. And with 4 members of Astral Authority, you think there might have been some sort of lockdown, but BaRraCCuDDa, like his friends just knew exactly where they needed to be. They body blocked any autos that could hit him and made sure he got out alive.
Man, this game is so weird right now. Speed buff getting stolen away, or yeah, stolen away on the right-hand side. In the mid lane, still some aggression going on to Sheyka, very, very low. Andinster's here, doesn't find the hammer, but he's going to fall anyways. The mid Chang'e takes the first death there in the middle lane. So, wow, already 5 kills in 1 minute and 20 seconds. That was pretty nuts.
That, I'm kind of hoping that that's the most aggression that we see for at least a little bit, to give us a little bit of a pause to look throughout this. But as it stands right now, I mean, Mango's being forced out of his own blue buff. He's sitting around, like, it looks like he wants to contest it, but he knows that he'll just die if he does, so he's going to be able to just drop that. And it sucks to watch your blue buff go away, especially when you're a solo laner. It's almost the same as watching the speed buff that got stolen away, like sitting on Andinster's belt, knowing that you lost those buffs. Astral Authority, they have to farm up a little bit more just to catch up to it, but they're still within a range that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but this lead is going to get bigger and bigger for Jeff and his amazing friends because of their buffs on the right-hand side that still have yet to be taken. BaRraCCuDDa trying to finish his boards before the rest of Astral Authority try and invade there. So 1 buff gets taken on the left-hand side of the map for Astral Authority. They secure both red buffs, but the 4 buffs on the right-hand side are all going to go to Jeff and his amazing friends, and that means the red team is in a good spot early on.
So looking all across the matchups, I'm actually one that I'm excited for, and this is, I want to say, a little bit odd, and I think Hinduman would probably be happy to hear this, but it's the supports. Obviously, JeffHindla has shown the fact he is a great support player. He's been one for years now, and his style of play is very much to protect his team, like I had said earlier. Rachetier has a very similar style of support, and I think that the Sylvanus is going to enable him to have that. He has the pull, he has a root, but mainly that heal. He's going to be standing with his team, trying to heal them up. Is Omega going to get ganked on? But it seems like Omega is kind of in that, come on, go ahead and try and fight me attitude that he usually has.
Omega, I mean, it's like riding a bike with that guy, isn't it? I mean, he's gone, and then he comes back, and he's bullying the lane. He's up at your tower line at the 2-minute mark. Someone shows up, instead of running away, he tries to fight them too. Like, who cares, dude? He's just here to beat your ass, basically.
fineokay barely going to get out of this, and they look like they want to turn the aggression on to JeffHindla, but with Omega running over, he's now spot between 4 members, and MLC going to be able to pick up that one, and that is just going to be, again, this happened last game, this happened the games before, it happened yesterday, and it's pretty much something you see in Smite a lot. Get the 1 pick, like just grab the 1 person who's out of position, you get a little bit of gold for that, and then you walk away. As long as you get little picks, you get ahead. And
you can see how ahead Jeff and his amazing friends are already. 1,200 gold at this stage of the game is a large margin, let alone the 2,000 experience difference in their favor. JeffHindla hasn't hit level 5 quite yet. Rachetier has. Knock up. There he goes. FaymousHate able to pick him up. Andinster so low. Is he going to die to the dot? No. Not quite. Very, very close, but not quite enough. Sheyka off the mark, but Rachetier is not with the pull. BaRraCCuDDa's made the rotation. Shining Metal a little bit off there for MLC Stealth. So Barra makes the rotation just to get a little bit of extra poke onto those 2. But Rachetier hitting that level 5 first really benefits Astral Authority. They're able to pick up that kill.
The one thing Astral Authority has going for them, and this kind of shown at the very tail end of that fight, is Rachetier and Sheyka both being able to heal them. If they lose an engagement or they get really low, they do have the ability to kind of heal themselves up so that they're in a little bit better of a position. Rachetier is still kind of in a spot where I feel like if he gets caught out, he'll fall, and Andinster seems to think the same way. As Berserker's Barrage is going to come through, the root force, but the stun comes out. He's low, the anti-heal is on him from Sobek, but they're going to back away.
They got the Shell, and that's the important thing. Shell is so critical in these early team fights that once they get that, they get out. Omega able to successfully invade that blue buff 4-on-3, but Rachetier still pretty low from that previous poke put onto him by andinster. So Omega gets to walk out with the enemy blue buff, which is his favorite buff to take.
Even though this game is so close, I think it's kind of showing that, Astral Authority has had a really good opportunity to come through. fineokay getting double tapped there, turtle form, possibly what saves his life as that shield comes through. He throws the pin over the wall, but ultimately that was just beautiful execution. andinster coming in and getting every ability he needed to right on the mark.
Just not quite enough damage out of that mid Nuwa quite yet. We haven't seen Nuwa in quite some time in the middle lane with how important the early game is. Nuwa is basically the antithesis of early game in the middle lane, and that's why I think we're seeing a lack of her overall. Even with the 2 kills for mostly stealth, he's 2-0 and 2, sitting pretty right now in the mid lane, especially compared to Sheyka, who has that 1 death. He's sitting up about 500 gold as well, but it's just not enough damage. You can see it right there, especially if there's minions in that lane. Anywhere the Nuwa is, you really need to be fighting in the jungle so that your clay minions will actually attack the enemy gods and not go for the enemy minions. That's where her burst comes from, is that 2-3 combination.
And relying on that minion AI is something that a lot of people, they don't have a lot of gripes with, but when it goes wrong, you always feel it. If it just one minion runs the wrong way, you lose a little bit of your burst, you lose that stun, and it kind of falls apart. If your strategy was built on that, JeffHindla and his amazing friends, I feel, might have an opportunity. Like, I think they're building more on let MLC just kind of do his thing, fight in the jungle. They've been doing a little bit of that, but like you had said, it's still the early game, so he's not doing as much as he could.
Not quite yet. Pull on, and it's a knock up, double Chang'e ult. Andy uses the hammer to get out, but he may fall to the dot. No, the shell from Jeff keeps him alive yet again, and there we see just how important shell is. So close to picking up that kill. Great initiation there by Rachetier.
Astral Authority doing something that they were not necessarily known for, but they've done this a lot. Go for that early game Gold Fury. Try to force any rotation you can. If they don't rotate, you get Gold Fury. If they do, you take the fight. They're going to get the Gold Fury here, and they might be able to turn it. MLC Stealth, BaRraCCuDDa are the only ones really here from that team, but they don't want to aggress into it. Don't push your luck too far. You got the Gold Fury, back away.
Really nice engagement there in the middle lane. That's where that Gold Fury comes from, is the nice pull from Rachetier, perfectly timed as soon as they come around that top right side, and then you immediately get to and then you can just go right to the Gold Fury. Even though JeffHindla and andinster both escape with their lives, you force them out and take that advantage. The problem is it doesn't help with this experience difference, which is only continuing to grow as Jeff and his amazing friends invade the speed buff yet again. I don't think fineokay has gotten one yet this game. That's gonna be a problem.
I think that's the same with the blue buff as well. I don't think that any of the buffs on the right-hand side have gone to Astral Authority, as now Mangoh doing his best to get out. He is going to be using Zeus's Sentinel to just get that shield out, to do anything that he can to stay alive at this point. But the shield's slowly but surely ticking away. He's got some healers with him, but now with the anti-heal coming down from Omega's ult, this is a hairy situation.
andinster going to come crashing down on a fineokay. That turtle shield again helping him out, leveling that 72 transformations has definitely paid dividends for the jungle warrior. Blue buff being started up, Omega going to get that one yet again. And even with the 2 wards there, you can know they're doing it, but there's nothing you can do about it. Omega gets another blue.
I'm really wondering what exactly Astral Authority have going for them, because even though they've been kind of able to take advantages, they take fights, they got the Gold Fury, but they can't get their own buffs. They've gotten the red buff, and I think that just got put onto FaymousHate there, but all across the board, no speed buff, no blue buff. Your solo and your jungle are going to be falling behind ever so slightly as long as that keeps happening. And right now, I mean, Omega has a 2-level lead, 1 level as Nike just ticked over, but Omega's definitely got the control of this lane.
Without a doubt. I mean, you look at their net worth, he's got about 300 gold up on the enemy solo later, and that's basically all blue buffs. A couple minions probably lost a tower in there, but that blue buff will definitely start to come into impact. And I've talked about this experience lead, and it's starting to get a little bit better for Astral Authority. Now only 1,600 as opposed to that 2,000 plus that we saw earlier on. In fact, it's FaymousHate picking up a level on top of BaRraCCuDDa, though I expect Barra is probably going to ding here on this wave, and yeah, he will. So right about even there. And what Astral Authority has going for them is sustain in the mid to late game. They have to wait until these healers start to put out the real numbers as far as healing goes that would allow them to try and snowball a team fight. There's no sustain on the side of Jeff and his friends, but ton for Astral Authority.
And Jeff going to get caught out, stunned down by Chang'e, taking a lot of damage. Shell being popped out, forced down into the waters. He's going to be able to get away, though, as andinster doing a little bit too much damage for Sheyka to hold on to. He's going to have to back away. He's doing his best to run away. The hammer and the double tap comes through, and Sheyka's going to fall down. fineokay now looking like a prime target as andinster comes crashing down on him. Turtle form, more than likely, once again, saving his life. Like you had said earlier, he's leveling that up, so that shield is just enough to kind of keep him alive to get out, but andinster doesn't want to drop it.
Andinster is pretty good at Thor. I don't know if you guys have heard, but I mean, just using the double tap, no setup necessary. And you can see the adaptation that Andinster's already starting to make whenever he's ulting fineokay. He's not going for the full combo, you know, land auto, throw hammer auto, wall auto, that sort of thing. He's waiting until that 72 transformations comes out from fineokay, and then he's going to start to wall him. But remember, that shield's still going to persist through that stun. So as it's going to take a little bit more damage from Andinster to punch through that 72 transformation shield, but I expect fineokay is going to get even tankier. In fact, he's already pretty tanky thanks to that Mark of the Vanguard. He's going pretty support style right now. Usually that's only supports you see select that second starter item after their boots to get that extra health, extra tankiness, but fineokay is going for it himself.
And Rachetier taking a big chunk of damage. Once again, that's another shell taken off the board, but fineokay finally secures his own speed buff. I think that's for the first time this game. It's been 11 minutes, and I can almost see like he's jumping a little bit. I think he's pretty happy about that one.
Yeah, finally I got a speed. It's the best feeling. It's actually the worst feeling when you lose it. Pluck onto him from JeffHindla, though. Trying to get the knockups. Good wall, but a nice double taunt straight into the ultimate from Sheyka. fineokay needs one more tick of the heal. He'll get it thanks to the heal from Sheyka.
We have andinster up in the air. He's going to be looking for something. I don't know if he wants to come crashing down. He's going to go towards the mid lane, get the minions instead of aggress onto fineokay. Although, once the hammer comes out, the teleport comes through, the shield is forced one more time as Sheyka on the other side is picking up MLC. The battle between the junglers continues, though, and fineokay walking into the minions and andinster confirming the double tap. That was some really odd pathing to me.
Yeah, no, Mark of the Vanguard not helping him out in that situation. A lack of judgment for sure there. Jeff and Omega still 2v3ing on this right-hand side. Mangoh does not like that. He wants to keep going, but with how healthy Omega is, level 14, it's going to be tough for them to fight into that. Luckily for them, Omega misses Lord of the Afterlife. Sheyka low on mana, but is healthy enough to be okay.
I feel like Mangoh is kind of in need of the help, but more than likely Sheyka really trying to kind of stay relevant in this game. MLC doesn't have a huge lead on him, but it's enough that he's kind of feeling a little bit uncomfortable. And like you had said, Chang'e not very potent in the mid lane. She's got decent clear and she's got decent abilities, but when it comes down to it, decent isn't going to get you through. You need something that's great, and MLC can make Nuwa feel great.
He definitely can. This is a god that he used to play a ton of whenever she was a little bit more traditional in the mid lane, before the minion AI changes and before the early game was quite as important as it is right now. By the way, Astral Authority just stole a Gold Fury when no one was paying attention, including myself. Ward coverage, man, that's what it's all about. You can see the sentries dotting this entire left-hand side of the jungle. No one walks over the single regular ward placed down on the left-hand side, and so another Gold Fury goes the way of Astral Authority, keeping themselves in this game.
Last game, Freight and I were watching a match that I think the one team had too many wards. This game, not quite enough coming out from JeffHindla and his amazing friends, which is actually a little surprising because JeffHindla is usually the one who is ward heavy. He loves throwing those things down, but looking at wards placed, Nike is sitting at the top with 6, andinster has 5, but then the next two, you have Sheyka, you have FaymousHate, both sitting at 5 as well. So just huge amounts of wards going through as Rachetier getting a little bit damaged, but at this point, he's Sylvanus, he's tanky, he doesn't mind as much.
No, that's it's because JeffHindla's been spending so much time on this right-hand side. That we've seen Jeff on the right side over and over and over again, continuing to put pressure on the blue buff, on the speed buff, whatever he can find, and that's why that ward coverage was kind of lacking on the left. A nice recognition there by Astral Authority. The pin catches Andy's hammer, forces the purification. Great timing there from fineokay.
And it was really good timing from andinster as well, hitting that purification when he did, because if he had not moved, Rachetier was pulling him right into the tower, right into 3 members. So all across the board, I mean, fineokay played that excellently, throwing that pin right when he did to stop the hammer. but andinster still has that reflex. He does have the purification. So far, I mean, this game is actually feeling a lot closer than I feel like people think it should be.
Yeah, I mean, Astral Authority definitely putting up a good fight. Omega putting up a fight on this right-hand side in between two. In the mid lane, JeffHindla taking a little bit of poke, but not a whole lot. It's Omega just bullying, man. Level 15. He's 4 levels up on fineokay. He's not worried about this.
I feel like this is kind of stereotypical Omega, as BaRraCCuDDa gets the double kill, or gets the single kill on the FaymousHate with the help of andinster. But this is what we expect of Omega as he gets 4-man rotated on. He's going to fall down, but when it was just 2 people, he stood there and fought, and for the most part, he was kind of winning. Mangoh actually just had to back to the base.
But there's the problem, is that whenever you do things like that, you're going to invite the other team to 4-man rotate on you. Sure, they use 3 ultimates, but who cares? We got the kill onto the Fed solo laner that's going to be worth a lot of gold for us. You can take a look at the net worth. He's third right now. BaRraCCuDDa and FaymousHate both surpassing him a little bit in this duo lane, and that's what you expect right now in this meta, is that, you know, these hunters are just left alone on an island, basically. They get to do whatever they want to do during the first 10 to 15 minutes because of how important those fire elementals are, but because of how important the buff control on the right-hand side is. And you would think that favors BaRraCCuDDa just because of, you know, he's out playing at the top of his game right now. I think that he's just been absolutely lights out through the group stages, through super regionals. Going into Worlds, Bear's in a really great spot, but FaymousHate taking advantage of that passive from Jing, that rapid reincarnation, allowing him to get those back camps on timer, just keeping up and healthy. He doesn't have to worry about the box as much, and that's showing in his net worth.
And we actually see BaRraCCuDDa, I feel like, you know, I mean, he's been buffed since then, but Hui wasn't someone that we saw as often throughout the group stages because he was still kind of sitting in this area where things were a little bit more muddled, but with the slow now on the Suns, BaRraCCuDDa bringing him out, he's got a lot of potential for his team, but having that solo island kind of keeps him away. And the next few minutes, when the grouping starts to be a lot more important, when we start seeing this kind of team fight, this team cohesion, I expect to see BaRraCCuDDa making a very large impact, because not only does he have the mark to allow him to hit either Rachetier, like whoever he wants, but I'd expect maybe to go for Rachetier, get the tank out of the way, get the healers down. But the Suns are going to allow big damage, a lot of zoning, and with the slowdown that's on that, it's going to be very, very beneficial.
Oh, without a doubt. You'll definitely see him targeting these tanks, because you can see he's gone for the Chinsai. He's going for the tank shred sort of build. But I'm interested to see if he's going to go for an Executioner after this, or if he's going to go into the traditional crit, because you could go for the more penetration-oriented item like Executioner that will help you against these tanks. With the 2 warriors and the Guardian, I would expect that to be a pretty strong choice. But he could also go for the backline killer sort of build, where there's Chinsais straight into some crit, and Sheyka's gonna melt at the hands of BaRraCCuDDa if he gets caught alone.
fineokay trying to ward off Omega, who wants to steal away the speed buff, but looks like fineokay will be able to get a second one or third one, depending on how many he's been able to get through this match. But finally in a position to secure their own buffs. Is JeffHindla going to get pulled back into 3, but he's really tanky as this Sobek. He uses the dash perfectly and is relatively friendly right now to where he needs to be. MLC coming up behind him, so I don't think there's going to be too much aggression over there. Gold Fury's respawning right now, and I kind of expect to see andinster or somebody on JeffHindla and his amazing friends do something about this and not let it fall for the 3rd time without any contest.
Well, they're looking at fineokay. Nice ultimate, though, from Sheyka. Plucked back into the team fight is Nike, but that's not who you want in your backline. fineokay very low, blocked off perfectly by andinster. 2-man knockup from Rachetier. How is Erlang still alive? Finally, BaRra is able to pick him up.
Rachetier gets a return kill onto Omega. MLC takes out Sheyka, so that's 1 healer off the board. 2 members down for Astral Authority. BaRra actually getting the worst of an engagement with FaymousHate, and now Rachetier's here, going to get the pull down, and BaRra looking like he's going to get chunked. FaymousHate gets the last hit. JeffHindla has come through. andinster has come through. They should be able to pick up 1, maybe 2 kills here, but andinster's getting low himself.
Sanctuary, nice job there by andinster. Mangoh, nice knock-up, gonna find JeffHindla. Good stun from MLC Stealth, though. andinster teleports in, gonna fall to Mangoh. One more auto from MLC Stealth. He picks up the double kill, and now it's just the mid laner and the support. Stealth waiting for his cooldowns, needs that minion stun. Gonna find it, but the minions take a little bit of that damage for him. Not quite enough, though. Stealth, last one standing for Jeff and his amazing friends. An absolute brawl in the jungle there. But MLC Stealth comes out on top, 5-1 right now for the mid laner.
I was so impressed with Mangoh there. When andinster, he threw out the double tap, Mangoh hugged the wall to dodge it, and right as he had done that, MLC had thrown the fog slightly to his left. Hugging the wall stopped it from ticking him just to death. Unfortunately, it kind of forced him in a position where he had to stand there and get autoed down by MLC, but it's still just a kind of a nice execution that I really would like to highlight from him.
Yeah, definitely a good fight from him. He picks up 2 kills there in that engagement, I believe, and that brings him even with Omega, despite losing all those blue buffs on the right side earlier on in the game. But the longer this game goes, the more MLC Stealth's going to be able to do with this new WoW. We talked about how poor her early game is, but her late game is nasty. And I mentioned they want to be fighting in the jungle. Well, that fight happens in the jungle. And how many instances of minion blowups did Stealth get in that fight? 3, 4? Possibly even 5. I mean, that's why he was doing so much damage there. That minion explosion does so much damage.
And tight corridors like that definitely benefit him as andinster going to fall down. JeffHindla looking to be the next one. He's going to actually pluck Sheyka right towards MLC, but ultimately they just don't have the damage. They don't have the control right now. MLC used a lot of his kit previously to try and help out andinster, so as it stands right now, he's just going to end up taking some damage, uses ult to stay away. As a pluck comes down, Osiris is now the next on the block.
But FaymousHate has made the rotation. He's here. He's looking for Jeff. Airstrike, not quite enough damage. Mangoh doesn't want to let him go, though, diving that tier 1 tower in the middle lane. I don't know if he's going to be able to grab him. Meanwhile, Omega fighting 1v4 against the double Wrath stun, it looks like. Yeah, he did. Right in the middle lane there. Everyone going to be able to get out A-okay, but this definitely favors Astral Authority, and you can see exactly why. The double heals. Look at how healthy everyone is still. Gold Fury still standing. This is what I was talking about. You have to win fights handedly if you're Jeff and his amazing friends. If you don't, this is what's going to happen. You're going to get, the other team's going to get healed up. They're going to grab the objectives, and while you have to back, you're too low.
A lot of the problems we see all across the board, you know, you mentioned the double heals. A lot of the issue we normally have with that is that one team never builds the anti-heal. As the suns come down, they're getting the slows down. Rachetier looks like he's the target. He's relatively low, but Mangoh doing some zoning, as well as, unfortunately, fineokay, who did a little bit of distracting. He lost his life for it, and now we see Mangoh kind of in an unfavorable position. Looking to get rotated on. JeffHindla should have his pluck up in about 3 seconds, so might be able to aggress onto this if they want it. This doesn't look like a good spot for Mangoh.
Love the positioning there from Jeff. He knew exactly where Mangoh was going the whole time, never worried about where he was going. Always took that same path and is able to cut him off. 2 for 0. A little bit too greedy from Astral Authority there. You saw Rachetier. He wanted to be the one to force it on that top right mids, but all of Jeff and his amazing friends were coming back healthy. Rachetier no longer healthy, but does find the 4-man knockup. Not enough to save his life for now. BaRraCCuDDa jumping in towards Sheyka. Very low on mana. Purification, Sanctuary, but is he going to live? No, Sheyka's gonna fall here. BaRraCCuDDa gets the last hit.
Now, FaymousHate is here trying to get some return damage. Almost takes down Andy, but unfortunately for him, BaRraCCuDDa and MLC are here to do a lot of damage. JeffHindla getting low. The ultimate not going to connect, and he's going to have to fall back there, even though he has the damage to do it. I agree with him. Falling back is the right call, as fineokay going a little bit aggressive, but ultimately they're just going to call it as a wash. But one of the things I wanted to highlight, and this is something I think speaks about JeffHindla and his amazing friends, you know, the double heals on the one side of Astral Authority. You have some anti-heal inherent in Sobek's kit, but they know that's not enough. They've got the Brawlers, they've got a Divine Ruin, they've got a Pestilence, so they picked up a Curse. The fact that they know that these items are there, they know how they're important, I like that they're building them.
Omega has Wrath right now. Fire Giant getting very low. They're trying to peel him off of it, but Astral Authority secures it anyways over the top. It's actually Mangoh securing that with his own Wrath. andinster came crashing down, but it's a full retreat for Astral Authority. They've got what they came for, and that's the Fire Giant.
Omega, unfortunately, having to watch that one fall down. However, the team's not going to back away with just a loss. They're going to take all the buffs they can. Looks like they're actually going to leave the blue buff. They know they have the aggression. They forced Astral Authority back, so they can kind of push in here. Mangoh getting a little bit low, so they're not quite able to fight. And Rachetier, you're by yourself.
But the rest of his team is here, and they are mostly healthy. Only Mangoh still a little bit poked from that last engagement, but he still has that Fire Giant buff. FaymousHate doing a lot of damage to JeffHindla on that front line. Minion explosion onto Rachetier, while the rest of the team dives deep onto Sheyka. Rachetier finds a 2-man knockup in the jungle. Sun's coming raining down. Sheyka's ultimate finds no one. All 4 grouped up through this tiny little corridor, but not enough AoE damage from Jeff and his amazing friends to make it happen.
Sustain is the name of the game, though. Astral Authority are still perfectly healthy and healing up in order to continue this fight. Omega, JeffHindla, both a little bit too low to continue on. They're backing off with MLC. BaRraCCuDDa goes off the other way, and now we see andinster running through the wall. But Mangoh, he is not giving up the chase just yet.
No, but he's by himself, so he needs to be careful right now. If Jeff and his amazing friends realize how isolated Mangoh is, they may be able to pick him off. BaRraCCuDDa secures the speed buff, but he still wasn't there to defend that tier 1 tower in middle lane, nor the tier 2, also going to fall to the damage from Astral Authority. Taking a look at the graphs, I mean, they're up 2,500 gold right now. That's a good spot to be in.
And being able to steal away a couple of buffs, walk back. Gold Fury's not up for another minute and a half, but there are plenty of other objectives for them to focus on. Both towers in the left-hand lane are here, but JeffHindla and his amazing friends are showing up. They're ready to defend.
They're ready to defend this time around, but they're still so healthy for Astral Authority. Ultimates coming up, FaymousHate, fineokay, Mangoh all have their ultimates, whereas it's only andinster and Omega who have theirs on the side of Jeff and his amazing friends. God, I wish that name was shorter. Anyways, you can see the anti-heal coming out, but the lack of burst damages was really hurting the rest of Jeff and his amazing friends. The Divine Ruin, the Brawler's Beatstick, both there for Nuwa and Thor. Pestilence coming out from JeffHindla. That combined with Sickening Strike, it's going to be 75% healing reduction on anyone he hits with his third ability, but still not quite enough. Even with Lord of the Afterlife from Omega, they haven't been able to burst down those targets, and you just can't. They just don't have the AoE damage. We saw how grouped Astral Authority was as they ran down towards their 2-2 tower on the right-hand side, but what are they gonna get punished by? I mean, the minion explosion, not enough to cover that entire area. You've got Thor that's, can be AoE with spin to win, but he's not gonna be able to get in there. That's really what's hurting the blue team right now. Astral Authorities, or the red team, excuse me. Astral Authorities just able to kind of ignore it.
As fineokay gets plucked into the tower, we're going to see Nike go in, get a huge knockup as FaymousHate doing a lot of damage for his team from the backline. Omega looking to fall here. FaymousHate getting credit for a double kill. And I like the fact that Astral Authority, like, we can either kill Osiris, or we can kill andinster, or we can take the tower. They split up a little bit. They do a little bit of both as Mangoh chases down andinster, gets the kill. BaRraCCuDDa now by himself, trying to fight Nike as much as he can, but his lifesteal is just not going to be enough overall in the fight, although Mangoh taking a little bit more damage than I think he wanted to.
Mangoh's just here to keep BaRraCCuDDa from backing. In fact, it looks like Astral Authority is going to try and end the game right now because BaRraCCuDDa can't back. There's the damage from MLC Stealth, and that's it. That's all he has. Nothing else to do, really. BaRraCCuDDa does find Mangoh, but he's not going to be able to back in time. Is Astral Authority going to take this first game?
They're pushing it down. It's got 600 health, and they find it right there. JeffHindla, BaRraCCuDDa, MLC, they were all there, unable to successfully defend it. I mean, second place, Challengers Cup, takes down former world champions.
Wow. That was impressive. I mean, Astral Authority played their composition to perfection. They didn't back after that engagement that I've brought up over and over again. Them coming down their right-hand side and retreating through that narrow corridor towards their tier 2 tower, they never backed after that. I mean, they just pushed and pushed and pushed because of the healing that they have. It was just there was just not enough damage for Jeff and his amazing friends to deal with. They just couldn't deal the amount of burst damage necessary. Sure, MLC Stealth had big numbers, 27,000 at the end of the game, but it just wasn't enough. It's not the big, it isn't the Krakens, it isn't the Kukulkan ultimates, it isn't the Scylla ultimates. Those are what you need to punch through healing. Nuwa just doesn't bring that to the table. BaRraCCuDDa, he was doing a lot of damage as well, but with how much extra protection that they had, just not quite enough. And really healing, the name of the game there for Astral Authority. That's what allows them to take this victory.
Luckily for JeffHindla and his amazing friends, though, this is a best-of-3 series, so they still have a chance to bring themselves back in it. Astral Authority will be going into the next game with a 1-0 advantage. But speaking of 3, right now, if you play Smite, you can actually get 3 times everything. Worshippers, experience, all that good stuff. So after the tournament, definitely check it out. Go play it out. It's going to be going on for a couple more days here, so definitely worth going to. And I mean, as it stands, Astral Authority taking a surprise victory, really. I think a lot of people looking at JeffHindla, I mean, this team won Worlds a couple years ago. They kind of expect a lot from them. Astral Authority, though, they've been playing really strong. And like you mentioned very early on, they've been playing together for a long time. They have a lot of team synergy between them. And ultimately, they take game 1. So game 2 coming up next.
Yeah, well, I think that this is very, very comp dependent going into game 2. I'd be very surprised if we saw a similar composition coming out of Jeff and his amazing friends. They're gonna draft something burst oriented, and they're gonna keep the healing away from Astral Authority. At least that's what I would be doing if I were on that team.
But with that, we'll be taking a short break as we get into the next game here. We'll be bringing you game 2 of Astral Authority versus JeffHindla and his amazing friends.